When you have questions, ask. This is to be interactive. That is my sole motivation, is to connect with as many incredible people as possible. So my name is Lori Power, and I'm a group benefit consultant. What I do in benefits has everything to do with cultural fit. I consider benefits the promise that an employer makes to their employees. Super excited to have Christine joining us today, because she is not only a fantastic speaker, coach, consultant, expert, but she's somebody who is now a friend. And I wanted to bring her on today to talk about that hidden gem of culture. If you don't practice and improve and work on your culture, well, then you have what you have. But if you are willing to work on it, willing to improve that cultural piece within your organization, you will do nothing but reap the rewards financially. That is the truth of it, right? If we have happy and engaged employees, they will do better. Tell me, Christine, take me back a little bit. How did this become part of your business?
I was in the pharmaceutical industry when I started my career, and very quickly our organization was creating a new culture. And I happened to be one of the best, one of the top reps. I was the youngest rep on the team. And they took us out to Jasper in an effort to create cohesivity and alignment in the culture in launching a new drug product. Well, they hired this guy called a transformational coach to help us shift our perception about our marketplace, about the product, about the launch, about the company, about everything. And I quickly realized that I was in the wrong chair. I didn't want to be in that sales seat. I wanted to be on the stage where he was, because he was speaking into my core beliefs and my values that people are here to make an impact and a difference. And it's how do we make that impact and that difference? And so by the time I was 24, I trained and I worked both in the pharmaceutical industry, but I trained and learned how to create personal culture, organizational culture, leadership culture through coaching and speaking. So I was one of the youngest program leaders for a public company. And so that's taking you way back. Fast forward 27 years later in my career, and I have had the privilege of working with small companies, entrepreneurs, and very, very large multinational companies internationally on how to impact their leadership, their culture, just pretty much everything. You run the gamut. So we use a coach-based approach to defining and distinguishing that, because it's inside out. No two companies are alike. People are, the core of every organization. Doesn't matter what that organization is up to. It's really the people in that organization that determine what's possible and not possible. And that's your culture.
When you first have somebody, or you're first starting that coaching piece, what is generally the feeling of the corporation? Do they recognize that they need to improve this culture? Or do they think that perhaps it's fluff, it's a soft piece that's going to be a one and done? And I know there's no right answer to span that gamut, but we've talked a little bit about what you see that is fairly prevalent across the board.
Well, I think you're actually seeing a massive shift in people understanding how culture determines the resilience of their business, especially in the last 12 months. So even if you're a solopreneur, the culture of your company is determined by how you operate with your clients, how you conduct yourself, your core, and people see very quickly if you're off. So if it's a mid-size or a larger organization, that culture creates the context for everything. So most of the time, here's the challenge with this. The reality is leaders don't pay attention to that. If you're doing a merger and acquisition, for instance, what's the first thing they're looking for? They're looking at all the numbers. Well, here's the problem. They're not looking at how are they integrating those two companies so that they can actually get the most benefit. How are those companies aligned? Where is there a lack of alignment? And the biggest challenge with any leader right now is they're looking at how do I create better and smoother business processes? How do I be more efficient? Well, you're asking the wrong questions. if you want to be a resilient organization, you need to start with understanding what people's perceptions are, because that's actually the underbelly and what is determining what's possible in the company. Culture sets the context. And most people think it's, if I make these great words and I say we're authentic and we have integrity, and I put those words on the wall, we value our people first, authenticity, all this great motivational stuff, and it's on a placard on a wall. And then you ask all of the employees there how that shows up for them, you will get a variety of answers, and they're rarely aligned. Or most of them don't even know.
And the proof is in the pudding, because if we look at the Canadian stats right now, we can see that 63% of employees are actively considering leaving their position when they can.
Yeah.
That's an astounding amount of professional, intellectual people that are looking to look elsewhere, and people who are not. And then we have other surveys that said all the employees want right now is somebody to pick up the phone or connect with them without it having to be a meeting.
Exactly. And you said, so let's unpack that for a second. So where are the 63% going? And I'll give you an example of how to lose an employee fast. One company, same company, very large international financial company. They have a blue and gold sign. You can figure that out. We're all Canadian. You walk into one part of that organization and you speak to their people on how are things around here? What's it like around here? What's really going on? How are your leaders? How do you feel? Do you feel valued? Do you feel like you contribute daily? Do you feel heard? And then you walk next door to the other tower of that very same organization. You ask the exact same questions, and you would think you were working for two different companies. And if you have one banner and your employees feel like, even in departments, they feel like they work for two different companies. Because what's happening is people think that culture is created top down from the top of the house in the leadership position. People don't understand that where your culture is created is there, right in your chair. You are the culture of that company. What you say actually matters. How you say it matters. Are you bought in, or are you going, I don't think this is a good idea around here? What else is possible? And why we have 63% of Canadians looking to move, there's a variety of reasons, but underlying all of those reasons are that they are no longer aligned, and their personal purpose is not aligned with that organizational culture. And that could be one manager. One bad manager, even if your company culture is amazing, you're going to lose an extraordinary talent.
No, you're absolutely right. It makes me think about, as business owners, and this pandemic has really shone a bright light on a number of things that I think have historically gone under the radar, if you would. And one of those items is as business owners, we hire people and we go, you're lucky, you're working for me. Well done, you. And I'm going to expect you to work harder, faster, strategically to make me money. Okay, we're in agreement? All right, off you go. And when you're not able to perform to my satisfaction, by the way, I'm going to turf you, take something away, or make you feel like you're not performing.
Oh, you're 100%. And even some of the things you said, how we measure performance. So let's say our company culture is the customer first in all we do. Okay, customers first in all we do. We can all align it with, we want to stay in business and we're going to put our customers first in everything we do. Yet the way you measure how satisfied, or you measure your employees for customer satisfaction, is completely inconsistent with putting your customers first. If you're measuring your employees on call time, on reduction in turnover rate for customers, on X, Y, and Z, then you're probably not actually paying attention to what those customers' needs are. And if you want to put your customers first, start with putting your employees first. It starts there. It's not an outside job, it's an inside job.
We have a situation where somebody thinks, I'm just going to give that role. Okay, I'm telling you, we need better culture in the business, right? We've got an average Canadian business. We need to improve our culture. Joe, I'm going to need you to take that on top of your regular duties. I've set you up, Natasha, because you know that's not going to happen. Or we're going to assign that as an HR duty. Where are they going wrong when they just think, I'm going to pass that off as though it's filling in a spreadsheet?
I'm shaking my head because we already had this conversation that
Yeah.
it is a full-time job, right? I mean, and you even brought up HR, Lori, and to be honest, I mean, a lot of my role, even though I do traditional HR tasks and functions, I still actually outsource part of our HR duties to an external consultation company because I just don't have the time sometimes to do things like an annual review of our HR manual and rewrite our policies and cross-reference it with the current labor laws and relations. And so even with that, you know, me having a full-time job as taking care of our culture, if that even encompasses HR as well, yeah, I mean, passing the buck to somebody else and putting that on their plate, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work.
Well, and I love that you said that. And I love that you're pointing to HR. Most people think culture of the organization sits in HR. It does not. Culture actually is not in HR. HR is a role in the organization designed for human resources. Culture is the foundation inside of what creates the context that people either produce results, don't produce results, are attracted to work for your company, will go that extra mile, and it resides in everyone. It's not a one-stop shop. It's not a one size fits all. If the sales department has an extraordinary leader and extraordinary culture, but the operations department, the leader in that department is about covering their ass and they're all about themselves and they don't really care what's going down other than they get the job done and they get their bonus at the end of the year, do you think there's congruency in the culture of the organization? Doesn't matter how big or small, it's everybody's job. And the more we understand that context, and when I say context, I mean the background. You know, how do you know how does a fish know it's in water? It doesn't.
No,
it doesn't. A fish does not know it's in water until you take it out of the water. Then it can't breathe. Then it realizes, oh, something's wrong, right? So it's the same with culture. We don't even recognize we're in it. It just shows up as the way it is around here. The way Lori is, the way Joe is, the way Frank is, the way Christine is. Well, you know Christine, she crazy. Don't listen to her. That's setting the culture in your company. It's the people who set the tone. It's not words on a wall. It's not the placards. So how do you create culture that actually makes an impact and a difference? It starts in your hiring processes, 1,000%. It starts in your daily practices of how are you communicating what's important in the organization? What do you value the most? Are you valuing your people above your profits? Because your people will create bigger profits if you do that. If you value your profits above your people, they'll vote with their feet. They'll go make profits for somebody else.
I find the more I talk about cultural fit with regards to the benefit plan, the more I see or I hear, people tell me, well, you know what, we've tried that. We've tried that. It doesn't work. That's the soft stuff. Oh yeah, we've had that 2-3 times, different times. People have come in and they've tried that. We don't believe in that anymore.
Everybody's heard that. We tried that once and it didn't work out. Okay, well, exactly what were you trying to accomplish and how did you try it and how do you know it didn't work? What about it didn't work? We don't stop and investigate that maybe we didn't learn from something that wasn't working because it needed a minor adjustment or somebody wasn't bought in, or you did it in order to. You know, you'll see bonuses given on a quarterly or an annual basis. And you'll notice behaviors shift around that period of time based on how they think they're going to be compensated, how that bonus is going to turn out. That behavior shift shows you exactly how engaged your people really are. And if they don't believe in it every day.
There's so much I want to say to that because, you know, when it comes down to revenue and it comes down to, give us some examples on how somebody, it does start with hiring people. You and I both know that. But take me through the revenue generation between somebody who has not dedicated their time to cultural fit, hiring for that culture, making sure that everybody is engaged, to somebody who does. And
Okay.
what kind of revenue are we looking at?
Stark difference, and it's actually in the way people are compensated. So this is going to sit straight into your wheelhouse. If you're compensating people annually or quarterly based on the results that they're producing, that is one form of compensation, but it doesn't necessarily meet all of their needs. How are you helping your employees reduce the level of taxes that they have to pay so that they can actually have more take home at the end of the year? How are you helping them with their wealth creation that isn't just tied to your typical RRSP, RESP, where it's a tax break, but you're actually helping them understand wealth creation in a way that they can use their salary, their income, their revenue as a way to generate that? What revenue sharing or profit sharing models do you have in the company that allows people to expand that? So this is just on the compensation levels, right? Now, the other parts of that, you may have a multi-generational company. So you've got Gen Zs, millennials, Gen Xs, and boomers. They each value different things. So if you create one thing and have everybody sign up for that one thing, what do you think you're going to miss? Every single different value. So if you have someone retiring into a new future, and they're retiring into that new future, they value different things in what they're working toward. If you have a Gen Z coming in, they value different things in what they're working for. So that's just on compensation. But what about the things that mean the most, like value time? How do they get to spend their time? Personal wellness and fitness. Are you including those things? We've all been working from home. Have you taken care of your people ergonomically? Have you cared enough about their back, neck, and shoulders to make sure they're not sitting in a wooden chair? No offense, Melanie. I see your chair. And I'm like, how's that back? How's that working out for you? Do they have stand up? Do they have what they need? If you give people what they need, you show them that you care about how they are. And it's those things that make a big difference. Now, you have to be careful, otherwise it becomes an expectation, as opposed to the way that your culture, as opposed to the intention is that I want you to know I care, I see you, I care how you fit, I care how you're feeling. And then all of a sudden we become, we've gone through the generations and the experience of having people who feel a little bit entitled at work or feel a little bit entitled. Right? So that means that the things that you are working on, you're not educating people in a way that they understand. That's not an entitlement, it's privilege. It's an opportunity because I care about you. So the communication around how people receive what they receive is more important than the actual receiving of whatever it is they're receiving. Does that make sense?
That makes huge sense. I love the example just from a few years ago of a call center. So it was thought they were having turnover. We all know that the turnover of a staff member costs that corporation at least 2.5 times that person's salary, not to mention the impact on the culture, because it's the people they've interacted with, it's the training time, it's the go through, how are we going to hire for that position? So there's an enormous amount of money lost when I hear some clients say, oh, I don't even know if we're going to last 3 months, right? So that is an enormous amount of money lost. I love the example of this call center who did what you were talking about, Christina, doing the surveys, getting to know what matters to that employee. They had thought when they took over this company that they were going to do an annual trip, right? It's a competitive call center and you're going to earn that annual trip. And aren't I just the best employer? And how is this going to impact my culture? But it wasn't creating that positivity that they had envisioned, much to what you had said. You see that little spike that comes along, but it wasn't enough to get them through. When they took the time to actually survey and ask the employees, there were a number of employees who just wanted their shift. How easy is this? They wanted their shift adjusted by 15 minutes because they take the bus to and from work. And the time that they are scheduled to be in and clock in, didn't match with the bus times. So they were either too early or too late, and nothing was adding up, and it was interfering with their home life balance. You know, how easy a fix was that? Didn't cost them a trip.
Yeah, it's because if you actually care about people, you'll find out what they're up to.
Yeah.
And you pointed to the call center culture, and call centers are easy to pick on because there's a culture, there is a whole phenomena of call center cultures, and I've worked in many to understand this. Let's say sick days, people calling in sick. So this is before the pandemic. It's actually happening a lot during the pandemic. People are having an experience of very heightened levels of uncertainty and anxiety. Well, if you keep putting the attention on, you called in sick, we're going to penalize you. You've had too many sick days. Why are you calling in sick? Or sending letters home. Sending letters like you were sick, like I didn't know I was sick, or I didn't know. There's a reason people aren't showing up. How about you find out why? And instead of sending them a letter reminding them that they weren't at work yesterday, how about you send them so great to see you. I hope you're feeling great. We missed you. That's it. We missed you. We noticed and we missed you. Nothing penalizing about that. It's the same communication, because you do get the point across that you notice they weren't there, but you're not penalizing them. You're coming from a place of, we actually care about you and we notice something's going on, and your presence is missed. We actually noticed that you could shift the way people relate to that by stopping all the penalizing phenomena. People don't need rules and guidelines and guidebooks, and nobody needs to be penalized. We all know what we're up for. We're all, you can hold people to account to create extraordinary cultures without being punitive.
Take us through some examples, Christine, of what you're seeing from the clients that you work so fabulously with on the things that they have done so that the virtual sphere is not a barrier. It's not a reason to say, oh, we're going to put a pause on all of this right now. Take us through some of those examples, because you have so many good ones.
I have so many. So number one, they hired coaches in immediately to help people deal with working from home, homeschooling children. Every person in the organization has different needs. And there were a lot of people that was just like up to here. So within weeks, you're seeing blank screens, people turning their videos off, not engaged, and people would make assumptions about what that meant. Is because they were trying to protect the fact that they had other people in their homes, their kids were running around, they're trying to juggle it all. So instead of doing that, sending delivered meals at certain times of the day. So, that person has a kid at home, send them lunch so they don't have to make it. And they're working too much. You pick up the phone at 6 o'clock and say, I see you're still logged on. You got to get off there. I need you well rested tomorrow. Don't Zoom them. Don't text them. Pick up the phone and say, hey, are you okay? You're still logged on. I saw you sending emails at 3 o'clock in the morning. Everything okay? Anything I can support you with? So these are the simple things. Instead of punitizing people for turning their cameras off or not understanding what's really going on with them, I'm like, it doesn't take anything to pick up the phone. It takes nothing.
Take me through that Cinco de Mayo party that you threw.
Oh,
virtually.
Wait till you I threw a Cinco de Mayo party. I wasn't there. I forgot all about it.
Yeah, so we did do a Cinco. Yeah, we did do a Cinco de Mayo party, but then we also just recently, for our annual winter party, which is a staff appreciation event that we do annually, we did a winter fiesta. So we took all of our staff to Mexico. So the day before the party, which was on a Saturday, everyone got delivered to their house a large box that had tequila, triple sec, produce, a sombrero, margarita glasses, park insurance sunglasses, everything that they would need to party. And everyone showed up online. We had a DJ. We had a virtual photo booth where everyone could take a welcome to Mexico postcard. It superimposed a background behind them that made it look like they were at the beach. We had a mixologist come online, teach us how to make margaritas. We had a chef come online, teach us how to make ceviche, guacamole, pico de gallo. We had tons of prizes. We had awards giveaway. We had a boomerang salsa dancing contest. So that was our large event. So normally we would rent a restaurant and have a band band and dinner and drinks and everything. And so I decided we couldn't put, we've decided that we're not putting off any of our events. We'll continue forward, and we just need to pivot and be more creative and do them virtually. And so that's what we did, right? So a heck of a lot more work than renting a restaurant, that's for sure. But 110% worth it. It was so much fun, such a great time. And it's something that our staff will remember forever.
I love that you just said that. So there's a lot of opportunity for those things to happen. It doesn't have to be a one-time event. We use a new product instead of Zoom. We actually started a new product called Signal Wire, and inside Signal Wire, so you'd be sitting here, you can go to each other's offices and knock on the door. You, as the CEO, can pop into a sales meeting. There's a water cooler and a karaoke room. You can have live videos inside the thing. So you actually, you feel like you're in the office, but you're online. So you feel like you're together.
I love that. Sorry, Christine, what was that platform?
I'll send it to you, Natasha. It's Signal Wire. Yeah, and it's a newer company, and they were creating this prior to the pandemic, and everything that they actually, some of their creators were originally worked at Zoom. But there's ways for you to connect that way. Drinks after work, margaritas at 4 o'clock on Friday, doing the whole thing, having the wine tour, going on a wine tour virtually is also a great one. There's a really great, for all of you that love wine, Alex Fure she actually works, there's a beautiful vineyard in the Okanagan, it's Canadian, and they send you all the wine, and then they take you through a wine tasting. And what I love about that is it's Canadian, and Canadian wines, it's a very rare gift. So really, and the wine is good. But there's so many things you can do to keep that creativity going and moving. Also, you can meet your team in a park. You could go for a walk. You could all pick up donuts, have a park walk, go for a walk, do some exercise. Like, there's so many things that you can create that really helps people understand. But that's just part of the culture elements.
What you have always done and you envision your team to be, and not allowing barriers to stand in the way of keeping that culture engaged. Because can you really afford that when this is over and we no longer feel, to Erin's point, like we're in jail, are they going to stick around? Right? That's the most important thing. We want to ensure that people are here.
Well, and I think the other thing is, how are you giving people a voice? So are you creating a safe place for people to air concerns, challenges? Are you having radical candor conversations? So you can have a very pointed performance conversation and still leave someone whole and standing and thanking you at the end of that, because you may be pointing to a blind spot that they had no idea that they had. And if you're not having those conversations and you're avoiding tough conversations, or you're not having a fight room, have a fight club. Have a fight club. Have a debate hour where you're talking about tough issues in your company and you're debating on whether what's the right thing or the wrong thing, but make it safe. If it's not a safe space and people are feeling judged, or that they're going to be penalized after they said something that maybe not everybody agrees with. Here's another thing. So I'm going to say something very racy right now. Everybody wants to talk about diversity and inclusivity and belonging. Well, if you're talking about it, it means you already missed the boat. You haven't been being it for the last decade. Shame on you. Because if you have to have that conversation in your organization, you have not been being powerful with the people who work for you and understanding the different values that people bring, no matter who they are.
Well said.
It goes a long way. People know. You talked about the call center thing. I could talk about this for hours. So let's talk about the people left standing. Let's say you do have a high turnover. Let's say a third of your people aren't coming back, and they've decided, they made that decision for whatever reason. Well, how you handle the conversation around the exit is equally as important, because the people left standing to do those jobs, they're watching you. They're watching what you say about that exit. Some of those people were their lifelong friends. Some of those people are their neighbors. If you're bad-mouthing them for making a different choice, and you're saying, oh, we got rid of the dead wood. Oh, Well, if you thought that person who's my best friend was Deadwood, what do you think about me?
Yeah.
The language creates everything, and how you address those issues and how you address those conversations after people leave is more noticeable than when you had the opportunity to keep them in your organization.
Because sometimes you want to have somebody find their happiness elsewhere. And then, management takes the approach of we're going to micromanage them and attack them until they can take it no more and have to leave. That, you know what? If you had taken a coaching approach, if you had engaged with somebody who could help you through that, that person not only is leaving your company, but they are an advocate after the point. If you haven't properly exited them, because they may not have been suited for that job, but damn it, they tried.
And even if they didn't try, even if it was a misalignment or a misfire, because that does happen, it doesn't mean anything about you. But if they walk away from the experience of the organization in a negative way, and then you're trying to attract employees and they know that, oh, they have a high turnover, oh, something's going on over there, that word spreads fast. It's negativity and gossip are, all over social media. You can't, well, look what they're doing to Joe Biden. The poor man fell. Come on. Right? Whether you like the US president or not, he's still the president of the United States. And they just find ways. So negativity sells. And you have to remember that when you're creating your culture, you want to give people room to air things that may be considered aggressive or negative or complaining, with the opportunity to solve those things. Because if they can't say it, where does it go? It goes underground. And if you're driving it underground, like you have a no gossip or a positivity only, culture. I hate positivity only cultures. I hate them because it means you're not getting the truth. Make it safe for people to tell you what's really on their mind.
I love that fight room. What's the last word on the one thing that each of us can do to make that culture difference in our organization to get started?
Starts with you. You are the antithesis of how it's going around here. And what you say matters. And if your voice isn't being heard, you might be in the wrong place.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming in.
For having me.
Coming in today. This was wonderful. Christine, this has been fantastic. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. And I hope that you got something of value today.
Huge amounts of value, actually. Bye-bye.